friends, welcome to another video. Welcome to a work week in my life, We're starting off, we know it's a weekly vlog, and I'm gonna be working, I'm gonna be reading, I'm gonna be relaxing, and that's all I know at this point. So the possibilities for this week are endless. So I hope you're having a good day so far, whatever day it is, wherever you are in the world. I am currently working from home and just clocked out to take my lunch break, and I also want to try and start reading. Well, I actually already started reading, but I haven't read a lot of it so far. I want to read a good chunk of Peach Blossom Spring by Melissa Fu, which is a historical novel, historical fiction based on a Chinese family and their story growing up in 1938 China while there is a war going on, and it also goes in the future and highlights a descendant of that family. And I'm probably not explaining it very well at this point, but it's a moving debut novel about war, migration, and the power of telling our stories that follows 3 generations of a Chinese family on their search for a place to call home. And I got this book I think 2 months ago for book of the month, and thought it would be a perfect springtime read because 1, spring is in the title, and 2, the cover is beautiful and the plot sounds really good. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to read this whole book for this video, for this weekly vlog, but I'm gonna try my darndest. My goal actually this week, my reading goal for this week is to read 75% of this book, just not to put pressure on me to read the whole book, because I know like that's not totally feasible. And how many pages are in here? There's 383 pages, so it is under 400, so it might be a little more easier for me to get through this. Anywho, that is our reading update. I just made I made a microwavable meal called, it's a Buddha bowl by the brand Tattooed Chef. I get these at Target and I really enjoy these. They have different kinds. This is my favorite, I would say, the Buddha bowl. I don't know why I'm sharing this. If anybody's curious in what I eat for lunch. Usually I like to have meals prepared, meal prepped for lunch, and then I'll take it into work, but I do buy frozen platters. Words are very difficult this morning. I do purchase microwavable meals when I know I'm gonna have a busy week, or just to have on hand for days when I don't feel like cooking or eating out and things like that. So this is kind of my go-to microwavable meal, and it's just been cooling. So there's that. And I'm gonna eat this and try and get some reading in, try and finish the first chapter. Because I started it and I'm on page 12. Ooh, this angle. I started it and I'm on page 12 and I haven't gotten very far. So let's see how far I can get while I eat my lunch. morning, friends. Happy Friday. I did a very bad job at vlogging this week, as I seem to always do during busy work weeks. I just got to work now. It's my Friday side archives gig, and just wanted to pop in and say hello. And I need to go. But I will check in later because I have reading updates, work updates, mental health updates, just a lot of chatty things once I get off of work. But I think I'll show a few work bits if I can, and then catch up with you guys later. Happy Friday. Alright, so I'm working on finishing up a processing project for a personal papers collection. I just talked to my boss and reviewed the work I've done so far and went over some things that I had questions on about whether we should keep, not keep, etc., etc. Thought I'd share the little to-do list of what I need to do to wrap up the project. Mainly just finishing processing by sorting records, labeling folders, putting them in the finding aid. We went over some objects and I need to like unframe some photos and certificates and deal with those things, and then just miscellaneous things to do at the end about like sending the draft of the finding aid to my boss for review and things like that. So that's the plan. And now it's time to get to work. Well, I have been working, but now it's like time to get to work on my actual to-do list. Happy Saturday. Welcome to the end of the vlog. It's been a really chaotic week. Hormones are raging. I had a really bad mental health day on Monday, and by the time the afternoon came and I needed to move my workspace to the couch, put on a movie, you know, those work from home perks, and try to get through the day, but it really was it was really tough. And then the rest of the week was a lot better, and I had therapy on Thursday and got to talk out a lot of how I've been feeling and things. And of course, you know, getting your period, hormones, you know. Definitely a reset week in terms of I had a lot of emotions and thoughts and feelings that I need to kind of release and move through. So now, as I'm actually on my period, I feel a lot of the tension dissipating, and I feel like next week will be a lot better. I don't know, every time I film a week in my life, I have really good intentions starting out, and then things just don't turn out that way, which is a very realistic week in my life. And I thought about not even putting this video together, skipping this week's video, but it's very important for me to share all the parts of my life, the highs and the lows, and just maintain, you know, a sense of authenticity and share that life is not perfect, and also show you just like my work life and what goes on at work, and share, you know, that part, and also share my goal of trying to read during this week. I've been in a reading rut and like a life rut, I would say, too, pretty much all of March, and starting off April hasn't been that great either, and just taking me a while to get through books, and not a lot of books I'm really eager to read. And I think that just reflects kind of my overall emotions and mood, that just not a lot of things are sparking joy for me right now, and that's okay, because we're humans, we go through highs, we go through lows. And I think especially as a creative person, when I'm not feeling my best and not feeling creative, it gets me feeling even worse than I'm already feeling. That's something I talked about with my therapist that really helped me kind of pull back the curtain and see what I was going through. So it is really important for me to have periods of rest, days of rest, moments of rest, weeks of rest, seasons of rest, so I can recharge and just sit with whatever I'm going through. But like I said, as a creative person, when you're going through those moments, it's really tough because you want to create and you want to share, and you just can't. Or when you try to create and put some effort into whatever you're doing, it just doesn't feel right. And that's kind of how this week has felt. But I think that's important as a creative, as somebody on YouTube, to not just show up and film the good parts and film on the good days, but having a creative practice, which I'm learning more about, and like what that means to me is like having creativity be a habit and showing up for it even when you're not your best, and just moving through, working with what you got, problem solving. And that's kind of how this week has been. That's my little mental health update as a creative. If anybody resonates or has gone through any of this, please let me know, because I feel like this is a universal thing, creatives. And just even if you're non-creative, or you're trying to be creative, or you do creative things, this is something that probably resonates with a lot of people. So reading update, I would say, because I remember my goal, it was like to finish 75% of this, and that's by the end of Sunday, like for the week. That's my goal, and it's Saturday, so I think I'll be able to reach that goal. I'm not gonna try and calculate like the percentage of pages I've read, because that part of my brain does not work very well, but I am on page 237, and there is 381 pages left. So I have about 150-ish pages left. And this book I started last week, and I only read like 12 pages and then didn't pick it up for a few days, and just I really had to like get myself to sit and read, because I've just naturally I would just pull out a book, and I'm really like, it was like a habit of like reading, and I really enjoy reading, and let's finish this book. And lately, part of this rut that I've been in is just I don't want to pick up my book. I just want to sit on the couch, watch TV, and watch true crime. And that was kind of the season that I'm in, and now I feel like I'm trying to get out of that. And sometimes you just have to like work, like put in the work to show up and work on those habits. And that's kind of what this week was in terms of reading. So I think Wednesday I spent like all of like after work, just spent the whole evening reading, and I read like like 130 pages, and that made me feel really good. And I got really deep into the story and the characters and the family. I mean, this spans over like 50 years, from 1938 at the start of World War II in China, with Japan invading China, and the family were introduced has to flee their home, and they're moving, they're migrating, and they essentially become refugees in China. And we follow that, seeing the bad parts and also the little joys. And there's this scroll that the mother owns, and she takes that with her and she pulls it out for her son. And that's kind of like the one stable, constant thing they have during their journey of traveling while there is a war going on. And then this spans years, and then we see them go to Taiwan and they escape China, and then the boy grows up and he eventually gets to go to America to study engineering, I believe, at Northwestern University in Illinois. So we see him saying goodbye to his mom. I hope I'm not giving away any bits of the story at this part, but yeah, it takes place in China, and they're moving, you know, Taiwan and America, and that's kind of where I'm at now. And the son is now building his life in America. He meets a girl, and she's American, she's white. So they're touching on interracial marriage, which at this point in the 60s was illegal until 1964, 1964, I believe, when it became like across the country legal to actually marry somebody who was a different race from you, which is still crazy in my mind, like as a mixed person with parents who clearly are in an interracial relationship and marriage. Like, they got married in the late 80s, so like it had been like at least 20 years, like, but still I feel like that's still crazy to think that like over 50 years ago, like would be a byproduct of an illegal marriage, like to think about that stuff, which is crazy. And I know the story will kind of segue into the son's life, and then his daughter, who then is like an American Chinese mixed race person, and trying to learn more about her heritage, but her father is very closed off and won't share parts of, you know, what he's been through in China. So that's kind of like the plot, at least that much I know based on like reading the summary and what I've read so far. And I was like worried it was gonna be sad, or like, you know, there are some really sad parts and intense parts, but overall it's a story of hope and story of family and just finding home and making home wherever you are, and just, yeah, it's a very heartwarming story, and I'm really excited to see how it ends. But yeah, that is Peach Blossom Spring. Thank you for coming along for this work week in my life of ups and downs. I hope seeing the archival things has been helpful to anyone. I will leave it at that. Thank you, friends, for being here, and I will see you in the next video.